Hi everyone, we're back from the fan stands. We're back with another video. First of all, we'd like to tell you that yesterday we made these videos, but yesterday due to some technical difficulties, two of our videos got deleted. So
So we
we
have to,
do it
do it
again. So in this one, first of all, we're going to cover the big match, the Super Sunday match, Liverpool versus City. Uh, Liverpool won 3-1. Liverpool ran riot. So we're going to start with the Liverpool fan first. Mohsin, what's your take on it?
Hello, everyone. Absolutely an amazing result for Liverpool. One of the biggest match of the season so far.
100%.
And you could possibly say this was an early title deciding
Definitely.
moment. Liverpool came out on top with 3-1 win. An excellent result. Again, Liverpool played excellent at Anfield. And, the match was no short of controversies, but then again, 3 points in the bag and 9 points lead ahead of Manchester City already. So, things are looking very good for Liverpool at this point in time.
The title is theirs for to lose at the moment. Liverpool played pretty good, as in, I saw the match and they were in cruise control all throughout, especially after that VR decision that went against City. But the alarming point for me as a viewer and as a detached neutral viewer of the City versus Liverpool match, it was pretty alarming to see that for a very long period in the game, City was nowhere to be seen. There were a couple of sitters that Aguero also missed.
Definitely.
And I understand that coming onto Anfield and playing at Anfield is not an easy task for any team per se. As in Sir Alex Ferguson had the same sentiments of going to Anfield and playing there. But my point was that if you look at the midfield that City plays with respect to Liverpool, I agree that Liverpool's midfield has been performing really well. But if you talk about stardom, if you talk about names, City has a much, has a much, big, midfield as compared to when you're talking about, Liverpool in that sense.
Okay, so as you guys touched upon it a bit as well, that VR decision for a handball on Trent Alexander-Arnold. So what do you guys think? Was it a handball? Was it a not a handball? Personally, I feel it was a handball, but
I didn't see anything.
you got blinded.
It is just.
But on a very neutral, from a very neutral standpoint, I actually saw that, and if you go back a couple of games, and there's something that I've been mentioning in our discussions as well. That if you go back a couple of games, if you go into the Champions League, Chelsea versus Ajax, you'd see the same situation happening there as well. But the VR decision for that was, they gave a penalty to Chelsea. But in this particular, particular scenario, Liverpool, it actually went to the benefit of Liverpool, and City didn't end up getting a penalty for that. While I saw, while honestly speaking, if you use a particular rule for one match, I feel that you need to replicate the same thing in the other as well, irrespective of the intensity of the game.
Well, I understand with you, but VR has been the main controversy and has been a main talking point, a very long debating point, and I think it can only improve and be reviewed at the end of the season. So we have to make do with whatever decisions are being made. And in the last match against Aston Villa, a lot of decisions went against Liverpool, but they still came back and they were hungry to get those 3 points against Aston Villa. They did well. But coming to the handball incident, I believe it was a 50-50. I mean, it can be given. It's often not given. I mean, yes, because there is a VAR, so we think that the decision should be reviewed and the referee should have another look at it, should not be biased. But and it can be given. We've seen in big matches before the VAR was there in the Premier League that such penalty incidents are in favor. Such handball incidents are in favor of the home side.
But when you're talking about the installation of technology, and in this particular scenario, you're talking about the VAR. You know, technology is always brought in
Mm-hmm.
into a particular scenario to scale it up in terms of quality, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So in the refereeing side, I'd say there is, it's brought in to, probably scale up the kind of decisions, the quality of the decisions that are being made.
Mm-hmm.
But within the season, I've only see that going down, and this particular match was actually exhibited to that. There was another particular incident that happened in the Liverpool versus City match. A lot of people don't agree with the fact that it was an offside,
The second goal.
and I think our viewers also need to know our opinion over it. But personally, I felt that that was a very close call, to be very honest. And if you look at other games as well, such situations have also been, an offside has been given for such particular situations
It
as well. So the only thing that I feel is that they're not exactly replicating the kind of stance that they have over a
They're not being
particular,
consistent.
exactly, consistent with their decision making. If you're giving a particular handball in one game,
Mhm.
you need to give the same thing a handball in the other game,
Yes, this has been a problem. Now, coming back to your point regarding when you discuss about Chelsea and Ajax, the difference is UEFA and the FA, English FA, they have different understanding of the same action. Now, Mike Riley, who's heading the one of the technical parts of the association, he said that because Arnold was running back and he was covering Aguero, so this was a natural movement of his arm being away from his body, and that is why the ball hit his hand. But often we've seen in other matches that these incidents are given as hand and they've been considered as penalties. So I can understand why City and Guardiola were furious, but then again, this should not be used as an excuse for City failing to win that match.
Agreed,
I mean,
agreed, agreed, agreed.
Liverpool came back despite two decisions not going in their favor against Aston Villa, and I see again, it was harsh in that minute because after a
In
failed handball
Yep.
claim and a penalty, Fabinho scored on the at the other end
Within 20 seconds
within 20
almost.
seconds, an amazing goal, poor clearance from Manchester City.
Well,
So
if you
But a
look at
great strike.
great strike,
if you
brilliant
look at
strike.
Fabinho's tally, goal tally, the last goal that he scored was probably last
Last
season,
season. This was
on the
just his
Boxing Day. Yeah.
second goal he scored against
So
Newcastle, I think, and Liverpool is in great swing. Both sides have only lost like 2 3 matches between them in the last 50 odd games.
Hmm.
So they've been amazing, but then again the decision. Yes, I felt the offside, the Salah goal. I think that wasn't offside. There should be a little margin to be given in such decision. I mean, there has to be consistency as to how much of your foot or arm
Or
should
armpit.
be armpit
I
should be
think that was one of
should be
the
beyond that line, that
justifications. Yeah.
offside line, because even if your toe is in front, I mean, I can understand what referees think, but
This
still
happened.
there
The
should be
toe thing
some,
happened in the Sheffield game.
yeah.
But I do agree with you that a team like City, coming, after a season when they were they were the EPL champions. I agree to the fact that this is not an excuse for probably Guardiola or his players to be losing such a match,
This isn't. They
such a
had
big
their
match in
chances.
such a style.
The difference was that I think Liverpool played very well and they capitalized on
They really
whatever
maintained,
the chances they got.
they
Yeah.
eliminated every threat that
They
came towards
eliminated
them,
that thread. Now I'm sure when
except for the silver
before
goal.
the
Yeah.
match, it was obvious this was the starting lineup Klopp was going to go with, and it wasn't easy for Manchester City without their first choice centre backs. Going to Anfield, I think the match came at the wrong time,
Yes.
and they were missing a few key players. But still, when you're going for the title, there are no excuses.
But that even if they were missing a couple of key players, I agree with that. Even when you talk about teams like United who are not really performing, they usually also play with Sergio Romero.
Definitely, definitely.
But they do come out winning games as well. They don't exactly use goalkeepers as excuses. I'm not talking about their recent run of forms, obviously. So I hope nobody really
See, this
holds
is
me to my word.
this
But
happens. This happens. It's happened in the past. I mean, even then you are a United fan, or it has happened a lot of times. They've won the title, but there have been controversies that
Agreed.
so and so decisions were not given at
No, as
Old
in
Trafford,
there's
or
nothing
this
negative.
is part of football, and I can understand. I
Huh.
respect it. See, it's one of those decisions which, sure, which is 50-50 one. It can be given, even if it was a penalty. I would totally agree that it was a penalty. It hit his arm, but then when it was not given, they had a reason for it. But there should be consistency.
But
I agree with that.
this particular controversy takes nothing away from the fact that Liverpool played wonderfully well
Yes.
on that day.
Definitely.
All three goals that
Exactly.
Liverpool.
All three
Salah,
goals.
who was looking pretty off lately, also regained his confidence,
Yes.
which would definitely come in handy for Liverpool going forward after the international break. They've got a very heavy schedule coming up for them, especially in the Boxing Day week.
Yes.
So I guess it was all in all, Liverpool played really well. City didn't. The that particular vulnerability that the fans could probably feel, the Liverpool fans could probably feel, was all because of the fact that Man City is not a small team. It was a former EPL champion, and obviously anyone would expect them to bounce back into the game. But having said that, the only time I saw them threatening was when they hit that goal, and even after that, if you look at them, there was no real threat that they put in. The last 15 minutes, you can say that they improved their game, but other than that, I only saw them being giving out a very lackluster performance. I could be very harsh over this, so everybody's entitled to their own opinions, I guess.
All right, that's well, but I think we should talk about the man of the players of the match actually. One thing that I feel that Liverpool did really well is not just the midfield, but it's wing backs. Both of
Agreed,
those wing
agreed,
backs,
agreed, agreed, agreed.
Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, they
Amazing.
were
And isn't
involved
that
in almost all of the goals.
They're always involved. I mean, at times I feel as a Liverpool fan, what would we do without them? Because the midfielders, Liverpool lacks a creative midfielder
agreed?
after Coutinho's left. Now Henderson and Wijnaldum, they do their job. Wijnaldum can play an attacking role, which he does for the Netherlands as well. But we're a bit over reliant on Robertson and Arnold for those great crosses, deliveries in the box. But they have been
And during the
very
match,
good.
they showed that they can still
They can do it. They can do it. I
Especially
mean,
the second goal.
that first goal, even sorry, that second goal. I mean, Arnold from the right switches play to the left, and Robertson
immediately crosses.
he sees Salah. If you see the replay, if you see it in detail, I mean, he's looking at Salah. He's waiting for the run, and he puts in a cross in the box. Fernandinho could not stop it, and Salah, he doesn't score much with his head. This was just his second or third headed goal this season, so he just bounced onto it, and
He got a very favorable bounce.
But this
for,
is
Fernandinho, it bounced over.
yeah, he
Fernandinho.
was lucky that they don't have someone like Van Dijk
Ah.
that as a centre back in defense, because Van Dijk was also excellent. All the set pieces he managed to get ahead to it and stop. The weak point for Liverpool was that Matip is still out injured and Lovren was playing in his place, but he's very inconsistent, but during the big matches he does tend to perform. And Fabinho has been excellent, an unsung hero for Liverpool. He was playing much deeper than he does in that
Agreed.
match, and very wise of Klopp to rest him for the Villa match, so he did
he
not
could pick up a yellow
could,
card.
could pick up his fifth yellow card and miss out on this. For
But
this
one
match.
thing I'd correct me if I'm wrong. This is something that I'd rather want to ask you. That wing backs, the concept of wing backs, that's more or less because there was this presser that I was watching, Jurgen Klopp's pressers, and he mentioned the significance of wing backs in when his team's moving forward. So don't you think this is more of a mentality that he's brought into
He
Liverpool?
has. This is coming from Dortmund. I mean, playing a front three as well as using his wing backs. He's done this at Dortmund as well. In Dortmund, he had the likes of Lewandowski in the middle, and he had Royce and Godze alongside him, and then he had Schmelzer and Piszczek for Dortmund, who
If I'm not
used to do
wrong,
the same role.
If I'm not wrong, did Godse and Kagawa play on the
They
same
did. They
same
did.
position?
Not exactly.
Kagawa
Godse was
was
playing a
on
bit
the
more of an advanced role. Kagawa, they could inter switch.
I
But
thought it'd be
Godse
better if I
was
asked you.
often, I think, if I remember correctly, was often, playing as false nine as well as a more attacking role. Kagawa was, just playing behind Godse.
Yes.
Godse had more freedom in that Dortmund side before Kagawa decided to go to Manchester United. So Kagawa was pulling the strings from midfield, and Godse had the leverage to play a more of an attacking role.
But 8 points ahead, I think Liverpool has a lot of breathing
Yeah.
space moving
Ni-
forward.
9 points
Ahead
ahead.
of City and 8 points ahead of
Eight
Leicester.
points
8
ahead
points.
of the other team. Breathing space, yes, but then again, you know, this is the Premier League. Anything can
Agreed.
happen if you know there's still a lot of ground for City to cover. But then again, expect draws to come for Liverpool. They have been winning matches. They only have one draw,
A single draw.
single draw, that too against Manchester United. But there can be other draws coming, and a loss might be also on the cards anytime.
Huh.
I don't expect an invincible
And I
season.
guess moving forward in the second part of the season, when Champions League gets a bit busier as
Yes,
well,
yes.
and you've got the EPL going on, then you have the FA Cup, obviously the
This,
Carabao Cup, which obviously won't hold a lot of priority,
yeah.
but there's that too, so it automatically affects the
See,
fitness
like
and.
you've mentioned, Carabao Cup, then Club World Cup. So
Then the
two
international breaks is
international breaks
match
and
as
all.
well.
See, a player knows that when you're playing two matches in the space of 5 days, 6 days, or three matches in a week, especially during the Christmas period and the New Year time. So you know that you can have injuries, and especially muscle injuries. A player might, they're minor injuries, but they prevent you from giving 100% or going
Yes.
out on the field.
Agreed.
So Klopp has experience of coaching. The players know how much they can give and how much they need to give in a match. So Klopp has to rotate his players. You can't just go with the same lineup again. But these players know what they want, and it's a Premier League, which Klopp is
Yeah, I think
hunting for.
this is his main target. I believe
Hunting for, and
you
when you have to be champions, you need to have the attitude. They need to just say, bring it on. They don't need to say, oh, okay, another match, let's see what we can do. You need to have a bring it on attitude. This is why, United, City, Chelsea, they've won the leagues.
And I guess
And
Jurgen Klopp has been exhibiting that
he
this
has been
season.
exhibiting, I mean, 30 years of not being able to do that because,
It's
the
gonna be big.
mentality wasn't there. They've come close, they've come second on
I
several
remember
occasions,
this.
but they've lost from such positions. They've managed to, throw away leads and points, and
Slip up.
this time, yeah, slip up. And it's always been Manchester City. I mean, 2014 City, last year it was City, and again City is right on our tails. But it's more tougher. Chelsea and Leicester, I don't expect them to win the league, but they're right hard on Liverpool's tail, and there is a psychological pressure thing that when you look at the table, okay, these are the teams who are still in contention. I don't think Klopp would be ruling anyone out at this moment. So there's a long way to go, but the mentality is there, and so far they've done very well. I mean, this is one of the best starts Liverpool has made to a season.
Agreed, agreed. But in my point of view, if even if you look at Liverpool when they were under Brendan Rodgers, and the season that they became famous for slip ups, they were a bit shaky back then. But if you look at them now,
They're more
exhibit
assured.
exhibit A, the Manchester City game, look at them. For the longest time I haven't seen Liverpool play with such confidence and belief in themselves, and to the point that the manager as well, you mentioned the bring it on attitude, and Jurgen Klopp I feel has done a great job in instilling that within
He's
the club.
done that, and we have to realize that it did not happen overnight. It
Agreed.
took 3-4 seasons for him to
It
do
did.
that. And you see, they lost the Champions League final in 2018, and they were so determined and hungry to win that they outperformed all the other
In
opponents, Bayern,
2019.
Barcelona, in the Champions League. I mean, coming down from a 3-0 first leg deficit to win 4-0 at home.
Yeah.
Against a side like Barcelona, who are always favorites every season to win the
That was
Champions League.
huge.
So that was an achievement that gave them confidence, and they only lost to City by a point, so they're hungry this time. And I think Klopp knows what he wants to do, what he wants to achieve. But the only concern for me is that how much quality do they have on the bench, how much consistency and depth? Because the reason why I feel City did well in the last 10-15 minutes was because when Liverpool subbed the regulars, Firmino and Salah and Oxlade-Chamberlain and Gomez
and
and
Milner came on.
Milner came on, so the tempo slowed down a bit. And Liverpool, the problem is they don't know how to retain position and slow down the tempo of the match. They're very high pressing side who like to play very fast, as Klopp calls it, heavy metal football. So they need to learn how to slow the game down, how to keep control of the match.
So maybe in the upcoming transfer market, they can look to
Klopp,
cater
I don't
that.
know. He's not very fair. There's some, I've read somewhere that the board will not, throw out a lot of money. They did not invest much before the start of the season, so they might not invest. If Klopp wants to invest, I think there are rumors that Daniel Rugani of Juventus, a Italian defender, he's not getting enough game time. He's under Liverpool's radar, and he'll invest in the summers. He might go after Kai Havertz, who is a German playmaker for Leverkusen, and Timo Werner from Red Bull Leipzig.
But there's one thing that I'd want to give a special mention, to you for is that unlike me, you don't have the habit of overselling your club. You have that mediating point that you always come back to. So
And
I guess
we'll come to the overselling in a bit. That's the other video that we need to shoot.
I think the reason is because United has done it in the transfer market. They've actually splashed, and they've got Liverpool has under Jurgen Klopp. I mean, he buys a player or two in a season. It's not like he'll change the entire squad. I mean, we've seen with United, especially when Ferguson left, heavy investments. I mean, Di Maria and Falcao are two of the biggest
Agreed.
South American players playing in Europe that time. So Liverpool, they like to spend solely when they spend 70 odd million on Van Dijk. Now that was a question mark, but he's shown his worth now.
But if you look at it from this aspect, that last year they were European champions. This year, if all goes well for them, if all goes the same,
Hope it does.
they'll be title,
Premier League winners.
Premier League winners as well. They'll have the title to them. So I guess if you're giving your board such a concrete and credible, promising, situation
I think
or
they should
decision,
spend.
so I don't see anything stopping them from
They
spending.
need to, but
Because-
coming to sorry to
no, go on,
coming
go
to
on, go
Hassan's
on.
point, in January he should personally, I believe he should buy some players, because now when Matip or Van Dijk or anyone does it is through suspension, not always injury. I mean, suspensions
If
are
Fabinho's-
part of the game. If
Fabinho's-
Fabinho's not there, who will come in? In the Aston Villa match when we saw Lallana was playing, I mean, he played well. He had 80 odd passes, but he cannot play with that intensity, that that impact. He cannot make that impact. I mean, yes, he did score against United, but that's what I said. The bench is not that consistent that they're going to give you goals, or they're going to defend that well like the first team does.
Right. I think the same thing goes for City as well. They in the January market, they need to buy somebody at the back.
Well, I mean,
Did you
they
did
have the
you
luxury.
just read a rumor? The rumor says that Pep Guardiola has asked for 100 million to spend in the market.
Yeah, I think,
So that,
and
he
also
could-
Riyad Mahrez is looking to go out. So I guess that would also help increase the budgets as well. Because if you look at the past 2 years, after companies retired, Otamendi's gone off the face of the earth, and Stones is not performing.
Stones
Well,
not
and
performing.
even
I don't know
the
what happened with him.
and even Angelico was a brand new. It was his fourth match.
With all
So,
respect, I think he played well.
He was, I
Coming
think, of the
to
back four, except for Fernandinho. Fernandinho is a superstar.
superstar, but
Yeah,
that's
but
not his natural position.
but
playing
it's
in-
not his
in-
natural
in
position.
defense.
Yeah, so
But,
he was the best defender.
Otamendi is and was a great player. The
Definitely.
issue with Otamendi is that he's a bit too old now.
He's a bit
I
old
don't
and
think he
slow
has
for
the
the Premier
legs,
League. Yes,
to
definitely.
compete in the Premier League week in, week out. But having said that, I do agree with your point that City does need to invest heavily into their defense again.
Defense.
I think the one thing that completed the Liverpool team was the addition of Van Dijk
Van
there.
Dijk.
Van Dijk's a real leader. He's a brilliant defender. He reminds me of. I'll repeat this point again, that he reminds me of a fusion between Vidic and Rio Ferdinand. You
Not
know,
somebody else.
no, not really. I'm glad you didn't take his name, but you
We couldn't take his
know.
name.
All right. So
Yeah, he is a leader, and Henderson's doing well. I mean,
Uh,
criticized even I before the match. I wanted Ox Chamberlain to start in
yeah,
place
but
of Henderson, but
Henderson played really well.
brilliant cross for Mane, and all that talk that Mane is a diver. He put in a diving header to get the third goal.
but his
City,
goal was.
I mean, they've invested whenever Guardiola's got in very good players. I mean, Edison, you see, he wasn't playing in that match. The
Hmm.
difference he made was because Edison is not only a good shot stopper, he has good passes as well. He's a very good distributor of the ball from goal kicks or from just simple kicks. So that he was also missing. But then again, I don't think City should have excuses. I mean, Guardiola acknowledges the fact that they were outplayed,
Hmm.
but do not write City off. I mean, it's going to be very difficult and different when Liverpool travel to the Etihad.
It's definitely a long season ahead, and you're
Mm.
right that there's nothing certain till the end moment in
It's
these
not over till the
PL.
fat lady sings.
Yeah,
Hundred
it
percent,
is. And
100%.
football, can
So yeah,
change
but
anytime.
Liverpool has a lot of positives to carry forward into the international break.
Yes.
But at the same time, I think City needs to obviously reevaluate themselves and probably
They
also have a
they will. They
moment
will.
of
I mean, squad
self-reflection.
teams like Liverpool, City at this point in time. I mean, they're not fond of losing. They're not used to losing. So expect them to come back very hard and very strong. And Guardiola will come and make a statement. Even in January, even if he buys players, this puts a psychological pressure on the opponents that okay, they're taking this very seriously, and we need to elevate our playing levels now.
All right. All right, I guess that's about it for the match. Do remember to like and share the video and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave comments for us what you liked about the video. Do you agree with our opinion on VAR and the other matters? And do you want us to talk about something else? Just let us know in the
Throw in
comments.
ideas if there are any that you think would spice up things.
Spice up
And
thing. What do you
yeah,
think about the season? Do you think Liverpool can do it finally
agreed.
after 30 years, or will Man City spoil the party again?
Or Leicester will strike
And
out.
although this is sort of like a teaser of sorts, but we'll definitely try to experiment with our content
We will.
during the international break. And hope you guys like that. But if you like this video in particular, do share it.
Sure,
And
and we need all the support we can get,
exactly,
in the form of do subscribe, share, comment, and watch the video. That's all I can say.
All right.
agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Allah
Bye bye.
Hafiz.